but I've only been there twice.
I see.
So this was the second time. But they, unfortunately, COVID crushed that country because it's heavily reliant on tourism. It's the #1 industry in the country. But I've only been there twice.
I see.
So this was the second time. I can hear myself. What's that about, Gus?
It's just like we were listening to ourselves on the live, but I muted it. Okay. Everything's is okay now. So tell us a bit why you recommended Mark Twain books.
All right. I'm just gonna get I'm really not prepared at the moment, but I'm getting the article back. Okay. Did you guys like it? Anybody?
Did. Loved it. Luciano is also.
Otto? It's good to see you, Otto. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's a long time no see you.
He has a microphone now, like a super professional microphone.
Yeah.
Why his voice sounds so great. Nice. He's a podcaster now.
I know I picked it because it's short, so I thought it'd be easy to sort of digest. I know the language is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a big fan of Mark Twain because I think he has an ability to get right to the truth of something very quickly and do it with some humor and a great deal of insight in a way that is timeless. So I think it's pretty amazing what Twain was able to say in the late 19th century and early 20th century. And this one here, for sure, is a response to America's early imperialism, going into the South Pacific and the Philippines, going to war with the Spanish over those islands and those territories. And I believe that's the context. And I love the language. I think there's something really beautiful and powerful about the language of Mark Twain. To me, it's a really cool combination of being insightful and powerful and funny at the same time.
See.
Let's read it.
You can share your screen with us if you want to show us the text.
Sure. Oh, you want me to share the screen?
Yes.
Sure.
So can you repeat like the historical context? They will go into war with Spain.
Spanish-American War. It's like the kind of the conflict. I don't have the exact dates in front of me, but this was when the United States is really asserting its imperial power and primarily taking on the remaining Spanish colonies in the Western Hemisphere. So the Panama, this is when they want to build the Panama Canal. They're going to make the United States a superpower at this point. And Spain being the most recent and last remaining, European superpower. So it was this clash. Twain, are you guys seeing? You guys are seeing my screen now, aren't you?
Yes.
All right. So are you familiar with these terms? Gadfly. We can put them in a chat or something. Gadfly or iconoclast. This is Twain.
Wait, iconoclast.
Yeah, I get that. How do I get that?
Like this?
Let's see. Here we go. Chat. I don't use Zoom as much. Now we use a lot of Teams at work. Yeah, there you go. Iconoclast, gadfly. I don't know how often you guys are going to use these words, but what the heck?
I don't know, gadfly. What does it mean?
They both mean something similar, which is like an irritant, someone who is able to, who doesn't have a lot of social power, but has a loud voice and can be an irritant of power. Yeah. An iconoclast is like someone who takes on icons and destroys them.
Interesting.
Socrates was a gadfly. All right.
So a gadfly is a kind of fly, actually.
I think it probably comes from that. It probably comes from some sort of annoying fly or something like that, because that's what the gadfly is, you know, someone who's always irritating and annoying the person in power.
Interesting. So that was Mark Twain. He was one of those.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, let's read it. You want me to read this?
Okay, we can also take turns in reading if you want to.
Excuse me?
Actually, I like to hear you read it. Yeah.
Unless somebody else wants to. I liked reading in school. I don't know if anybody else does. It's hard to get the students to read, but
Yeah, I like reading. Otto wants to try out his microphone.
No, no, really.
nobody's volunteering.
Okay. Can I read this first paragraph?
Of course.
Okay, let me zoom out a bit so you can see everything. It was a time of great and exhausting excitement. The country was up in arms. The war was on. In every breast burned the holy fire of patriotism. On every hand and far down the receding and fading spread of roofs and balconies, a fluttering wilderness of flags flashed in the sun. Nightly the packed mass meeting listened, panting, to patriot oratory which stirred the deepest deeps of their hearts, in which they interrupted the briefest intervals with cyclones of applause. The tears running down their cheeks the while, in the churches the pastors preached devotion to flag and country, and invoked the God of battles, beseeching his aid in our good cause in outpourings of fervid eloquence which moved every listener. Sunday morning came. Next day the battalions would leave for the front. The church was filled. The volunteers were there, the young faces alight with martial dreams. Visions of the stern advance, the gathering momentum, the rushing charge, the flashing sabers, the flight of the foe, the tumult, the enveloping smoke, the feast pursuit, the surrender. Then home from the war, bronzed heroes, welcomed, adored, submerged in golden seas of glory. The service proceeded. A war chapter from the Old Testament was read. The first prayer was said. Then came the long prayer. None could remember the like of it for passionate pleading and moving and beautiful language. The burden of its supplication was that an ever merciful and benignant Father of us all would watch over our noble young soldiers and aid, comfort, and encourage them in their patriotic work. And a stranger entered and moved with slow and noiseless step up the main aisle, his eyes fixed upon the minister, his long body clothed in a robe that reached to his feet, his head bare, his white hair descending in a frothy cataract to his shoulders. His seamy face unnaturally pale even to ghastliness. He ascended to the preacher's side and stood there waiting. The stranger touched his arm, motioned him to step aside, which the startled minister did, and took his place. During some moments, he surveyed the spellbound audience with solemn eyes, in which burned an uncanny light. Then in a deep voice he said,
Gus, should I take over?
Yes,
Since it's the aged man.
Yeah, I was going to ask you too.
Right. I mean, obviously, it's the old man takes over.
Yeah. Do you have any?
Nicely done, though, Gus, man. You read it really nice.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
So you're gonna, okay, go on.
All right. I come from the throne bearing a message from Almighty God. God's servant and yours has prayed his prayer. Has he paused and taken thought? Is it one prayer? No, it is two. One uttered, the other not. Both have reached the ear of him who heareth all supplications, the spoken and the unspoken. Ponder this, keep it in mind. If you would beseech a blessing upon yourself, beware, lest without intent you invoke a curse upon a neighbor at the same time. If you pray for the blessing of rain upon your crop which needs it, by that act, you are possibly praying for a curse upon some neighbor's crop which may not need rain and can be injured by it. You have heard your servant's prayer, the uttered part of it. I am commissioned of God to put into words the other part of it, that part which the pastor and also you in your hearts fervently prayed silently and ignorantly and unthinkingly. God grant that it was so. You heard these words. Grant us the victory, O Lord our God. When you have prayed for victory, you have prayed for many unmentioned results which follow victory, must follow it, cannot help but follow it. Upon the listening spirit of God fell also the unspoken part of the prayer. He commandeth me to put it into words. Listen, I love this shit. O Lord our Father, our young patriots, idols of our hearts, go forth to battle. Be thou near them, with them, in spirit. We also go forth from the sweet peace of our beloved firesides to smite the foe. O Lord our God, help us to tear their soldiers to bloody shreds with our shells. Help us to cover their smiling fields with the pale forms of their patriot dead. Help us to drown the thunder of the guns with the shrieks of their wounded writhing in pain. Help us to lay waste their humble homes with a hurricane of fire. Help us to wring the hearts of their unoffending widows with unavailing grief. Help us to turn them out roofless with little children, to wander unfriended the wastes of their desolated land in rags and hunger and thirst, sports of the sun flames of summer and the icy winds of winter, broken in spirit, worn with travail, imploring thee for the refuge of the grave, and denied it for our sakes, who adore thee, Lord. Blast their hopes, blight their lives, protract their bitter pilgrimage, make heavy their steps, water their way with their tears, stain the white snow with the blood of their wounded feet. We ask it in the spirit of love of him who is the source of love and who is the ever faithful refuge and friend of all that are sore beset and seek his aid with humble and contrite hearts. Amen. After a pause, ye have prayed it. If you still desire it, speak. The messenger of the Most High waits. It was believed afterward that the man was a lunatic because there was no sense in what he said.
Nice.
Yeah, that's Twain.
So I want to hear your comments now.
My comments are coffee clubbers.
Your comments first.
Well, I'm curious more about what you guys think, and I know the language is tough. I mean, you can always go through these pieces. It's extremely helpful, I think, to just go through and say, oh, what is exactly? I mean, you know, students whose first language is English have a hard time with this language, and they need, you know, to study the vocabulary that's in here. But do you get the gist of it? You know, kind of the idea, this, you know, every prayer has another prayer that's unsaid. You know,
Yeah.
if you pray for victory, you're also praying for the defeat of all of these innocent people. And I dig the way he just kind of goes through the list of things that war entails, the list of things that, you know, this, you know, I guess it is very American, and Twain is very archetypally American. So this idea that, you know, national, I mean, I'm sure you have it in Brazil and you have it in a lot of countries, but nationalism by its definition, this idea that your country deserves to control other countries has an unspoken side of it. The unspoken side of it is you're spreading misery wherever you go. And I think that's what Twain was saying, you know, be careful of what you pray for because there's always the unspoken part.
Yeah.
Is that what you got out of it, Gus?
Yes, for sure. Like my favorite quote is the rain part. You know, like when you pray to rain on your crops.
Right.
Like if you pray for the blessing of rain upon your crop which needs it, by the act you're possibly praying for a curse upon some neighbor's crop, which may not need rain and can be injured by it.
Exactly.
And this summarizes the message, right?
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, of course, this is right here, you know, how true is all of this? It was believed afterward that the man was a lunatic because there was no sense in what he said. How people will just dismiss this. Imagine, you know, an old man giving a prayer like this, even today, especially today, perhaps, for someone. And then also, of course, this important idea that we always believe God is on our side. God is protecting us and taking care. Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. When people say, the hurricane was so terrible, the storm was so terrible, it blew our houses down. My neighbors, died just across the street, but we survived. God was looking after us. And I always think, so I guess God didn't care for your neighbors very much. Are you saying, I guess, and that's the same idea.
Yeah, this is tough. Like when you're rooting for a team, like and both teams are praying for God, to win, and who God is gonna root for,
Oh, it's so silly. I mean, what a silly reductionist idea. You hear these athletes and they'll say, I caught that final touchdown pass and we won the game. I just want to thank God. I knew he was there with me. Like, so God is a Dallas Cowboys fan. And when you fumbled the final pass in the next game, did you say to God, oh God, thank you for having me, drop the winning touchdown? It's a very silly idea. I mean, no offense to anybody who believes that, but that's a kind of like, you really believe God is micromanaging the world like that? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
But how about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Find meaning, right?
Excuse me?
We are desperate to find meaning.
Oh, absolutely.
And then
right. The world is chaotic. That's what most people are on a search for, is what does this all mean and what's my place in it? It's heavy, man. How about the other coffee clubbers? Do they have any? It's like just like class where I have to call people out just by name.
Hear from them as well.
It's just like class. Nobody wants to talk.
Yeah, I just didn't like to click on the mute. Sorry, but I read it, and I read it, not the article that you sent it, but I got a Kindle Unlimited, so I read on my Kindle, and I got to read all of the war prayer, and the first thing that it got me, it was the sense of the soldier who came back from the war, and we get this from another stories too, like Lord of the Rings or Rambo or Junot from the World War One, and it is just like this counterpoint, like people always try to thrive for the victory of his side, and then you got the sense part that someone who really knows about all of the context about what is going to war and what is returning from it. Like you have soldiers that say that they say everyone else that doesn't went for war, that he was cheering because of the victory or something like this, like kids, because they really doesn't understand how the words are working right back then. And it's really and not unusual, but it's really interesting. Like we can have these two sides equally from the religious perspective. That is, you get someone going for the victory. Yeah, we have to win. We have to fight for instinct in what we defended of, and we can't say this like now back days when we got the elections on US, that people were spraying in front of the posts for the election, and people were praying for Trump, and it was kind of awkward because of it, like God is with Trump, what the heck. and this counterpoint, like someone is trying to get reason and got the empathy of everyone. It's quite alarming, because it's not what people want to hear. People want to hear things of joy and things that we can feel the victory of it. And sometimes suddenly one guy shows up and says common sense for everyone, and no, we're not cheering for them, we're cheering for us. And it's a kind of a balance, the equilibrium of a balance that can annoy some people.
Yeah, there's a couple of, you're right when you say a lot of people kind of bring back that perspective, that you never really know how horrible war is until you participate in it. And you certainly wouldn't glorify it if you did know how bad it is. And like, do you know this, I'll put it in the chat here, you know, this Bob Dylan song, With God on Their Side, or With God on Our Side? That's the same idea. He has a great song. And then there's that great poem, Dulce et Decorum Est, which is Latin. If you've ever heard Dulce et Decorum Est. And that one is by Wilfred Owens.
Interesting.
And these are the same ones. What's that?
Is it poem in Latin or just a title?
No, just the title. It comes from a Latin, the title and the last line of the poem come from a Roman ode by Horace, the Roman poet. And the full quote is Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori, or how sweet and honorable it is to die for the fatherland. Yeah. So yeah, like Luciano says, you know, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of tradition of that. That, you know, it's not something to glorify. Now, people seem convinced of this idea that, you know, God is endorsing their view. It seems unknowable.
Yeah. I was once talking to this colleague from university back when I studied history, and and he was telling me that people usually expect God to be good and root for them. But when we say to fear God, it's not just an expression, you know, like he is this overpowered being that can destroy everyone anytime. Actually, we should be afraid of him, you know. So he takes it literally to fear God, you know, not just to respect him, but to actually fear him.
That's Old Testament. You know, that's the Old Testament God. He's your dad and he's mad at you. You've done something wrong. He's going to punish you if you don't do it right, you know.
Yeah, Old Testament has these daddy issues, right?
I think so, yeah. So.
Yeah. And then when he did destroy everyone, he said that he wouldn't do that anymore, right? With the rainbow.
No, he said it was water this time, it'll be fire next time.
Wow, did he? But wasn't like the rainbow a symbol though? I'm never gonna do this anymore.
It's a symbol of not destroying the earth anymore with water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So that there is this a small detail that almost no one pays attention to. It's important.
Exactly. There seems to be a lot of that where people take, you know, it's like a buffet, you know, and they just take the pieces that they like and they make up their plate, but there's a lot more to it. You know, it's like going into one of those kilo places in Brazil, you know, you have all these options and you just make up your plate with a few options, but really there's a lot, you know, people are leaving out a lot of it. Yeah. That's the tricky part, you know.
Yeah. Talking a little bit about the text, one of the things that I liked the most was the part in which the old man says the prayer that was untold until then. May miss some words here because it's been a long time since I joined the last meeting on Coffee Club, so my English is suffering a little bit. But okay, I remember what struck me the most is that it looks like a situation that I had one time with my brother and my mom. We used to, when I was, I think 9 or 10, something like that. I remember that it was the final match of Brasileirão, and it was a match between Corinthians and Flamengo. I can't exactly recall what the year was that, but I remember that Corinthians won, and I used to root for Corinthians. And when our mother was putting us to sleep, she used to ask us for saying a little prayer and then going to sleep. And she would like listen to us and correct the things that we used to say that was not like biblical thing like that. So we will learn to pray. And I remember the time that I inserted like some of the context of this game in my prayer, saying, "Oh God, be with my brother. He's in real pain right now because his team just lose the match." And instantly, my mom grabbed me and said, "You never bring soccer games into a prayer." So this day I learned that, yeah, we can pray for anything, but not for soccer games and winning the finals and things like that. So I would not be like the first one that was setting the prayers in this context that Mark Twain just described it.
Yeah, a lot of people, but still to this day, I mean, people bring prayer and God into their sports, who they follow. And I mean, even isn't it true, even the Pope will sort of make a blessing, or I know he's a big soccer fan currently, the current Pope, and sort of bless the Argentinian team or something like that. I mean, I think that's more ceremonial than anything. But your mother probably taught you a very important lesson, which is you can't just pray for anything. Don't pray for something frivolous. You have to kind of keep your prayers serious. I've heard also it said, and I think this is helpful, is you're really not supposed to pray for yourself, but you're supposed to pray for other people.
Interesting.
And I don't think myself personally, my own personal opinion, I can't speak for Twain. I'm not criticizing prayer in itself. I think Twain is pointing out, and like Otto's mom, be careful of what you pray for. Pray for the right things.
Yeah, maybe like you may pray for the situation to settle in a peaceful way, I would say, and not like winning the war, because it implies that the war has to happen and you have to kill a lot of people. So yeah, there will be better outcomes or better ways of solving a problem, like without going to war. I think the text is a critic to war and what it implies to. So that's the point that I'm getting from the text, and I really like it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think it can be easy to think, especially when he starts his prayer, that he's supporting all of this, that the old man is saying, this is good, pray for the blood of the enemy and all this kind of stuff. But when you realize that what he's saying is this is what you're asking God for. Of all things to ask God for, and I think today this mentality still exists, especially, unfortunately, I suffer from that kind of Americanism where I kind of always turn the conversation back to my country, which is not a good habit, something I'd like to break. But we unfortunately have this nationalism very deeply in this country, where we have this belief, there's a lot of Americans who believe that, that God is looking out for this country and prefers this country over other countries. And it just seems to me the dumbest idea I can imagine, but it's very prevalent here. I know it's prevalent in other countries as well, but America, like everything else, sort of overdo it a bit here.
We do have a little bit of that here in Brazil too. We tend to say, and we say very often, that Deus é brasileiro, meaning that God is from Brazil.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I think that's nationalism, and that's the difference between patriotism and nationalism. And in English, especially in the United States, people conflate or combine those two terms as if they're synonyms. But patriotism and nationalism are not synonymous. Patriotism is when you say, I love my country, but it has flaws. And if we work hard enough, we can make it better. Nationalism is saying, my country's perfect the way it is. God prefers my country. So I think it's good to be a patriot. I think it's extremely dangerous to be a nationalist.
Interesting. The difference. Didn't know that. Nationalist versus patriotist.
Patriotism
Yeah, patriotic, like the person, the
or a patriot.
patriot.
Which of these concepts encapsulate this feeling of, if it's required, I would die for my country, my nation?
That's a good question. I think the difference might be, is someone attacking you or are you attacking somebody else? Because if someone's attacking your home, you're always going to try to defend it, no matter what. You'll die to defend your family. You'll die to defend your home and your country. Probably most people would. Most people would take up arms to defend their family. That's a natural thing. But it's not so natural to take up arms, go several thousand miles away, and try to invade and try to take somebody else's home. You know, so I wouldn't die for that. You know, that's like Muhammad Ali. If you remember the great boxer Muhammad Ali.
Yes, yes.
He gave up the best years of his career. And there's a very famous interview in which the interview, you know, he gave up several years of his career. I believe he had to go to jail or whatever he had to do because he refused to fight in the Vietnam War. And the interviewer asked him, why won't you fight for your country? And why won't you go to Vietnam? And he said, no Vietnamese ever called me a nigger. And that's, you know, he was basically saying, you know, why am I going all the way over there to take away somebody else's home? It's not like they ever did anything wrong to me. And then it's deeper than that because, you know, there's plenty, well, anyway, but, you know, that idea right there. So the answer, I don't know if that answers your question so much, but I think that is the difference, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And also about Muhammad Ali, the concept behind this phrase is that, no Viet Cong did anything to him, but people within his country did, like calling him a nigger and stuff.
Exactly. I didn't even want to go in that direction because exactly you're right.
That's another topic, I would say.
Well, that's why Ali was very complex, is because he's saying really two things at once. You picked up on it. You know, it's that terrible tragedy of Black soldiers who fought overseas in World War II, in World War I, in the Civil War, in the Vietnam War, and they would come back to the United States and they would have less, you know, they would be called these terrible names and they would have less rights than in the countries that they were fighting in. And, you know, that's a terrible, terrible episode of, you know, that's just a function of American society. But yeah, this kind of thing here, it's just unfortunate, I suppose, ultimately, to kind of put a cap on this, that it still exists, that many Americans and many people around the world haven't evolved past this kind of nationalistic thinking. It's not just the United States, clearly. I mean, you have plenty of nationalists in Russia. You have plenty of nationalists throughout Europe. They're fascists. They believe in the same racist kind of mentality, very anti-immigrant. And so it's, you know, it's in many places. I'm sure you have it in Brazil as well. It's throughout South America.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think of the idea of a secular state? Because I was remembering that on the notes, on the dollar note, there's in God in trust, and also in Brazilian reais, there's Deus seja louvado. So kind of says that these countries are not secular states.
What does that translate to? Are you talking about around the globe, right? In the Brazilian flag and the
notes, the real notes, like on the money.
I
don't know if it's still there. Do you guys remember?
Is it the same phrase but in Portuguese?
Kind of.
Sometimes since I use
just like
physical money.
How to translate that, guys? Like God be worshipped in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting question. I'm curious what you guys think.
I'm asking you, but I don't have opinion yet.
You're asking me first?
Yes.
Oh, what do I think about a secular state?
Yes.
I mean, my personal opinion is that I think it's a good idea. I think people who want to worship particular religions, that's what their houses of worship are for. I don't think it should be imposed. I don't see a whole lot of value in running a nation based on religious principles. I don't know how it works in Brazil. I think one of the worst crimes in the that's exaggerating, but a terrible system we have here in the United States is, I don't know if you're aware of this, churches and houses of worship do not pay taxes. Yeah. So this leads to enormous corruption.
Here too.
Here too, in Brazil as well.
Yeah.
So anybody can start a church, and you just solicit funds from poor people more often than not. And people get tremendously wealthy on it because they're selling a ticket to heaven, essentially.
Exactly.
So
And several other like little souvenirs, like blessed bottles of water and bricks that will represent their future houses, and like little tokens of salvation in a way.
when I was in Brazil, there was a lot of talk about the recent influence of evangelicalism in Brazil and throughout South America. This, and also this kind of prosperity gospel, which is very popular and dangerous.
Yeah, I do believe that we can like pray for prosperity, but we shouldn't like fool people into steal people's money to build our own prosperity and not build theirs, right?
Ironically, give me your money, impoverish yourself so that you can be prosperous. That's kind of ass backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember walking into a cathedral. I can't remember if it was in Salvador, San Francisco. It's called San Francisco. Is that in Salvador?
The name of the cathedral?
Yeah, it's called San Francisco.
Not sure. Let me check.
Because I remember it being the same as the name of the city in the United States. I think it was Salvador. It was Salvador. It's not far from.
Yeah, it's like a
huge chapel, and it was built by the Portuguese, and the interior of it is all in like gold sheath, gold. Yeah. That's it. No, right. There's the interior. It's completely gold. Beautiful. And I remember saying, if you just melted all of this down, couldn't you feed every poor person in all of Brazil? What is it? Why? What is the purpose of it? It's beautiful, but why do we still have poor people if they were building these things? That was my question. I don't get that. I know it was built like what, 600, 700 years ago or whenever it was built, but yeah, that's I can't. And it was probably built by extremely poor people, the laborers. Yeah, I imagine. Yeah. Could you imagine? You can't feed your child, and you're painting the cathedral with gold.
Do you think this will ever end? Because like I was wondering yesterday, like I have this parallel universe in which humans have wings. And we usually think that if humans had wings, everyone would fly, and it wouldn't be the case, because flying would be extremely hard, like just as running a marathon is. So almost all of us have legs, but very few of us actually run a marathon. So if we had wings, very few of us would actually fly, or if so, would fly high and acrobatically. So there will probably be buildings only for those people with wings that can fly very high. So we always find a way to make things elitist in a way, to create opportunities that are just for a few people.
That's a really interesting premise. I put a title in there that's similar, but I like your idea.
Oh, nice.
People have wings, but not everybody can fly. What a fucking cool idea that would be for like a Netflix miniseries or something like that,
Yeah, there you go. I'm gonna sell that.
I mean, you got to write it. You got to write that right there, That's a great idea, because then, like you say, it would create this kind of society. There would be like the angels, the ones who can fly the highest and the farthest, and then there would be, there would be like the Americans who can't get their ass off the ground, because they eat too much bad food and stuff.
Yeah, and also there will be the people that fly enough to go to work, enough to make a living, enough to jump from one neighborhood to the other, Like
man, that's you didn't watch that? That's not like a crazy graphic novel or an anime series or something?
I haven't. I was just wondering one day. Actually, I was working out. Usually when I'm working out, I have some crazy ideas, because I was actually doing an exercise called the flyer, in which you do exercise the muscles that you would theoretically use to fly, if you had wings. So like, hey, I'm doing this exercise, and probably if people had wings, they would also go to the gym to exercise those muscles so they could fly better. So if they would have to work out, it means that people would have different levels of ability. So then I started like,
Wow. I mean, that one unfolds. I could see the whole damn series. You have like the people, they don't use their wings enough, and then their wings atrophy, and then there should be like some terrible name for the ones who can't fly, like the groundlings or something like that.
so like chickens, like
chickens. Right, they have wings, but they can't fly.
Exactly.
Brilliant, man.
The eagles and the chickens. This is how
and I love birds, man. Birds is like a huge area. I'm not kidding. I used to be in the Ornithological Society and everything. I used to go on these studies where we would count birds and stuff. I started to notice them in Brazil. I saw scarlet ibis in Brazil and Kiskadee and all that. But that's a fucking cool idea, man.
I have to write that now.
I'm gonna help you.
Oh, great! Yeah,
you better hurry up though, because if you don't help, I mean, I'm gonna just steal it.
Yeah.
You're
right. When you help you steal
one
it.
day, you're gonna be like, "Holy shit! Wait a second, eagles, chickens." That's my idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that on Netflix one day, and like
You're going
Jeff
to.
Rubinstein.
That's right. Right. Written and created by.
Yeah.
It's a really cool idea, man. You could do
like a little text about it on my stories, like on Instagram. I can do these little interactions. So people like choose one of the two options. Then I prove to them they would be chickens by asking them what they can do with their legs and arms and lungs today. Like, so you would fly if you had wings. So tell me, how many kilometers can you run with your legs?
Mm-hmm.
How many push-ups can you do with your two arms? How many minutes can you stay underwater without breathing? So if you have those three extraordinary tools and you don't do extraordinary things with them, who is to say you would do anything good with your wings?
That's a wonderful central question that this new Netflix series could pose. It's posing that question because you're leaving. We all have free will, and you're exactly right. We could train for a marathon. We could run for 26 miles, but how many of us do it? We could do extraordinary things. That's a really neat question to surround your story around, because you're right. We do have these abilities, but we don't necessarily use them.
Yeah.
You better hurry up, man.
This is the very idea. Like I thought of that. I remember the very day I thought of this phrase. If extraordinary things existed, they would be just as ordinary as the extraordinary things that do exist.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like if everyone is special, nobody is special.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes. Taking notes to facilitate.
Let's go over that.
Holy shit, let's write it, man. Let's write it. You know what a treatment is?
Treatment.
Yeah. A treatment is usually, this is for movies, or I imagine they do the same thing for Netflix series or even a book. You write like about a 500 word, or maybe even less, maybe 350 word description of your movie or of your series. Here's my treatment. And then you briefly describe it from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of how you start. That's your presentation. Because from there, if you have the beginning, the middle, and the end, and I love that like central question that you're posing, it's just the hard work of actually fleshing it all out. Now I got to write all this stuff. And that's the hard part. Lots of people have great ideas, but very few people actually work them all the way through. It's easy to get great ideas. It's hard to implement them and complete them.
Yeah, with your help, we can do that.
Yes. No, it's a
I'll
lot
write
of
up
work.
500 words and I'll send it to you, and we can work from there.
Cool.
Like there would also be differences in architecture. Think about that. Like
what is it?
Instead of only one door at the bottom of a building, there will be several doors throughout the whole building.
Well, that's awesome, because like the lower doors would like not be very well maintained, and they're all dirty because they're like they bring in the nasty dirt of the surface of the earth. Oh, disgusting. Well, you know what the word mundane means?
Yeah.
right? And so something that's mundane is like, routine and boring, but it just comes from the Latin mundus,
Yeah.
which means the earth, the world.
Hmm.
So we're saying that which is of the earth is boring. It's mundane. Man,
Is the word secular? Is the word secular a synonym of mundane?
Yes, secularum. Well, of the world. Right,
Yeah.
like secularum. There must be a distinction as to what the root of mundos is and secularum.
What is a century then? Because for us, a seculo is a century.
You mean, I don't know. That sounds almost like Roman, but I could be wrong.
Old
Century.
French secular, from Latin secularis, from seculum, generation, age, used increasing Latin to mean the world, as opposed to the church. Secular, since 3 of the adjective, since 4 of the adjective, since, okay.
I would say that
Relating to
that
an age
in
of
church
period.
they use that word to refer to everyone that is outside of the
Yeah.
domain of the church. So
Yeah.
people,
Otto is
the
frozen.
word, but also secular. Yeah.
Also, you froze
Frozen.
for a second. Can you repeat?
Okay. But I think
It's dying.
let me see if it's my connection because they are trying to fix it.
You're good right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is an interjection between mundane and secular, because like a church can be mundane, but it cannot be secular in a way, right?
Right.
Into the perspective.
But it's not a very good church if it is mundane, because then it's of the earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like there's religion is like and belief is relative. So if you don't believe in the thing that the church preaches, so it's mundane to you, or even secular, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mundane.
And that Netflix show already exists.
Really?
Church that is mundane. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
Oh,
not the title,
okay.
but a church that is full of bad things happen.
Church is mundane. What do you mean?
A church that in which a lot of I would say things that should be only happening in the realm of the not converted people happen inside the church. So there is a show on Netflix just about that.
So is it sort of like it's like a church except there are no miracles? It's a church of the earth, a church of reality kind of thing, as opposed to a church of metaphysical possibilities.
It's a church where the figures you expect to be the most I would say saint are not. They are just equal us and do a lot of sorry my English for my English, but a lot of shit. So the people of the church like
Part of my
see
French.
them. Yeah, part of my French. It's not English. Okay, the people, the preachers and all the important figures, they are just equal the other people that come to them, like confessing the sins and stuff like that. So,
there is a denomination here in the United States called Universalist Unitarian. And that is sort of a kind of church that doesn't deal heavily with any dogma. It doesn't deal heavily with any of that sort of rigid doctrine. It's more of like a community. It's more, they don't really have like images of crucified, Jesus on the wall or anything like that. And that's somewhat popular in the United States as like a bit of a compromise. It's not, it doesn't have, anybody's welcome. Women could be clergy, gay people can be married. It has that kind of open appeal. And I think it's probably not a very large denomination, but it has some popularity.
It reminds me of the Greek gods and Roman gods by consequence, and also the Vikings. We were talking about praying and how we usually pray for our good and not for the demise of the others. In the Vikings didn't have that problem. They just, hey, God help me destroy them. Like they wouldn't like any They didn't embellish or sugarcoat their prayers. Like, I want to destroy their houses. I want to like pillage their homes. So there was no disguise on what they actually wanted.
Actually, yes. Norse people, they prayed for the gods for war, so they had to go to war to go to heaven. So
Yeah.
that's what they're meaning about
Actually,
about pillage and killed and murdered a bunch of people because they thought about the proper way to go to heaven is die in action, you know.
and there's nothing that can beat that. Nothing can beat that. Because if you think that you go to heaven if you kill people, you have the strongest army of all time. Like, there's no way.
How convenient for the leaders
Yes.
that they have convinced their soldiers that it's necessary to die to go to heaven. How convenient that is.
Yeah.
And people were arrested to be in cages or something like this. It was because they were great warriors, and it was a shame to be in a cage and not properly die in a war, just die being there. It was a sign of respect for the adversary, but it was like something to make me not go to heaven, not make his main objective of life be accomplished.
Yeah. Like, trapping a Viking warrior is worse than killing him. A lot
Yeah.
worse.
Right. Don't they talk about that in Game of Thrones a little bit or something?
Game of Thrones, you have the House Bolton, I guess, that was made of warriors that unpeel their enemies. They beheaded them too and put it on a cross upside down.
Oh, you mean they
Yeah.
skin them? Like, to remove
I'm
this?
having deja vu. I feel like we had this conversation in the coffee cup before.
We did? I don't think so.
No? Okay.
And also, when Alto mentioned the saints, they are not saints. I also remember the Greek gods, that are just as full of flaws as humans. They didn't pretend they were perfect. They had their flaws. They cheated on their respective wives and husbands and companions, and represented human sins very accurately.
And I think that's not bad, because it sets like there's no perfection even in God. That's not a bad idea. Also in African religions, the Orishas, for example, they behave really like humans, like we do, and all the stories that they tell are stories that make us relate to these figures, God figures, because they do a lot of things that we would do. So they hide one another, they kill one another, they cut people, and they do a lot of stuff that we say, no, that's not a thing that God would do, because God to us symbolizes perfection. But when we hear these stories, we see that they have a lot of flaws. So it makes us relate a bit more to them and to Greek gods than, for example, to I would say this Protestant or Catholic God that we all pray and we all know.
They had the same thing with the Greek gods, where they're always arguing with each other, like Zeus and his wife. They had these like marital arguments and stuff, and very similar.
Yes.
Norse history too. You have the conflicts within brothers and within the father and brother, or father and son, and suddenly you got this betrayal, and then the son got the mother and make a child that is a snake or a wolf. It's just a string like this.
Yeah.
Gus, to go back to your earlier question, you said, is it possible that we would ever end up with like a secular nation or a secular society? And the answer is, and you said you think it could ever happen. I think that's what you were asking, but we already have it, don't we? If you look at Europe is on a trajectory to abandon religion. Less and less people go to church. Look at some of those Scandinavian countries. Churches are like small little museums. They're quaint little places to, that where you can go and study a culture's history, or, I'm sure, people still worship and go to church, but it's at an all-time low in those countries. And that's what I think will continue to happen. Most religions, I think, except for what you see in Africa and South America with this prosperity gospel business and evangelicalism, more often than not, less and less young people are interested in religion.
I heard that there are some places in Europe in which churches have become bars.
And here is different. Every bar becomes a church.
Church.
You know that.
After a few drinks.
Yeah.
But this is nice, maybe it is an evolution instead of a devolution, like maybe we are living the principles everywhere instead of going to a place, try to be a good person or pretend we are,
Well, does anybody need religion to be a good person?
No.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying, like we are, maybe this is good, like spreading around the being a good person and not being shitty. It can happen in bars and on the street or in your house or anywhere.
I would vote for bars.
Yeah.
This kind of conversation fits well the ambient.
We should do a happy hour on those days.
Yes.
Well, I just came back from Jamaica, where the spiritual conversations are usually not after so many drinks as much as it is after spliffs and smokes and stuff like that. It's legal there now to smoke cannabis. So yeah, it's just wide open now. And of course you get a lot of coffee church or the Church of Coffee.
The Church of Coffee.
Yeah, but that's good. But even the Bible says wine gladdens the heart.
Pardon me?
Even the Bible says wine gladdens the heart.
Wine
gladdens
the heart. Nice.
Here we have beer because it's a hot country. So
Yeah.
Taking notes.
It doesn't say anything about cachaça,
Yeah.
the Bible.
What is that?
It's very specific, like talking about wine, but and how about the other beverages? Because there are people that are too literal, so that's the problem. They would say, no, just wine is allowed.
What's it again
No
called?
cachaça.
Cachaça. And is that the one from sugarcane?
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one.
Hey, Gus, I
Luciano.
told you I'm going to be back in Brazil.
Yeah, you did in July, right?
Yeah, assuming that the COVID situation, because Fulbright they could nix the whole thing if Brazil isn't at some level or whatever level they have to be at. So assuming that, all goes well.
Okay. So are you gonna come to San Luis or just by you?
I don't believe San Luis is on the itinerary this year. Salvador, Minas Gerais. There were some other towns and cities, but I can't recall them right now. But I don't think San Luis is on there this year.
Okay. So we can all go meet you then somewhere.
Actually, have you spent any time in Salvador?
I haven't.
It's a cool
Low
city.
hat, probably.
I have. Salvador is a beautiful city. I loved it.
Oh, cool. There's a lot to see. It's a big, big city.
Yeah.
So come, let's have a coffee club in Salvador. I know it's probably a far flight for a lot of you.
Good idea.
It's a good idea.
It's like flying
It is.
across the country for some of you, I think, right? Because it's far from Sao Paulo and
Now we all live in the northeast of the country, so it's not that far.
oh, okay. So all the rest of you are in Maranhão?
Gabi is in
Yeah.
Teresina, which is another state, and the rest of us is Maranhão.
What city will you go to? Minas Gerais? In Minas Gerais?
I don't. Is Minas Gerais is also a state?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Is there a city called Minas Gerais?
Belo Horizonte is the capital.
Oh, that's the city we're going to. Belo Horizonte. Yeah.
It's my city.
Oh, it is?
Close
Oh,
to-
okay. All right. Well, maybe we could meet up or something because I suppose we'll be there probably for at least a few days if it's convenient.
But I don't live there more.
Oh, you
I
don't
live in
there
São
anymore?
Luís now.
Oh,
Yeah, but I was born in Minas Gerais.
Oh, okay. I see. All right. Well, maybe you'll tell me a good place to get food or something.
Oh, it's a capital of the bars.
Oh, okay.
It's a good place to drink a beer.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
Absolutely.
Also, Minas is very well known for its food. Like here in São Luís, we have a lot of restaurants that has the word Minas displayed, and they
Because
all
the blessed
sell.
food from Brazil.
Oh, yeah. But at least it's just my opinion. Every time I go to a restaurant here in São Luís that says something from Minas, chão de Minas, panela de Minas, they sell a lot of like delicious food. They are like the ambient is like they set the mood to represent what Minas Gerais is, but the song they play, the music they play is all from São Luís. So it seems like
But,
you guys have a lot of tasteful food, delicious food, but the music sucks. So it's
I don't believe so. Probably there's.
there's a place called Chão de Minas. My wife loves because she lived there for a while before coming to São Luís, and she loves like Minas food. And every time we go there, it's playing Zé Cabaleiro, it's playing Bumba Meu Boi, and she says there's no, there's no music from Minas Gerais here playing here.
I think it's because when someone go to this place, it's together of other people from São Luís. So we need to blend the situation and the food, because the food is not like Minas Gerais. It's better than São Luís, but it's not the food of Minas Gerais.
Huh.
But I like the dessert part of these restaurants. There are a lot of sweet options. Like I can't recall exactly the name, but every time my wife goes there, she comes to home bringing this yellow sweet stuff that's really delicious, and she keeps in her bag when she goes to work, and she eats that all day. I know that's a lot of sugar in it. It's really delicious. Sorry?
Well, paçoca, quebra-queixo or something.
No, it's not. It's not that one. It's another one. It's an orange one. I think it's made of pumpkins.
Pumpkins.
Pumpkins, yes. It's a really strange. It has a strange color for. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm asking if Flo knows it, because.
Yeah, I will ask her for
I
the
don't
name.
know.
I don't know if it's.
I don't know. I can't understand what sweet is it.
Yeah,
You know what
she said that it's very traditional there, but I can't recall the name right now. But I know that it's made up out of pumpkins, and it's really tasteful.
I like to go this place in some ways because the food don't have, I don't know the word for coentro.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Cilantro.
Plantain platanos.
I don't
There is
like it.
a huge table full of food that you serve yourself, and the names are like very strange to you, like vaca atolada and this
I
kind of
love
stuff.
vaca atolada.
What is that?
Yeah, it's
But it's
go ahead.
No, it's a normal food, but the name it's the name is it's funny.
That's true.
What is spell cilantro?
Yeah. And I recommend you eat feijão tropeiro. It's wonderful.
What is funny though is that feijão tropeiro is being like, it's one of foods from Minas Gerais that is really mainstream here now. So when you go to iFood and you order any plate like from this barbecue house, they all have feijão tropeiro as an option. Like the first option, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
but it's not the same. It's
Yeah, it's not the
only
same,
the
it's a bit
name is
different.
same.
Yeah. Not the same food, but it's
It's sad.
mainstream now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, let's comment on a few words here that Jeff said and we also went through this real quick. Weeding out is a nice expression. Like to weed out means to remove, like literally means to remove the weed, which is not marijuana, but is like a bad plants to show up in the middle of something good. But in the expression that he used was, we usually weed out things from the Bible, like we handpick some things that we want to get out of it. So
No, I don't think I used it in that context.
didn't.
No, because weeding out means like you have to get rid of the bad things to find the good things. So, you know, let's weed out the bad employees and have a good team for this project. So you need to weed out all the bad employees. Yeah.
Okay, that's the literal meaning, but I remember you using it when talking about the Bible. Okay, well, maybe it was something else then.
No, I remember when the reference I remember was like people like to cherry pick like from like almost like or people like to cherry pick from the Bible the things that they want to go by, but they ignore all the other things. Yeah, to be selective.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it, yeah, cherry pick. Yeah.
Frivolous. And frivolous be also be mundane, you know, it's kind of similar.
Well, something can be mundane and not frivolous.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not synonymous. You know what frivolous means?
Frivolous like unimportant or maybe no priority. How would you define it?
Another good synonym for frivolous maybe is extraneous.
Extraneous.
Yep. Superfluous.
Nice, that's a good one. No, I was gonna comment because the very complex words from Mark Twain's texts are actually very easy for us because we speak a Latin language. So like, when you say a cataract, it's not a common word in English, but it's a very common word in Portuguese. So we just see that, we understand right away, you know?
I love that frothy cataract. How about frothy?
Yeah, frothy isn't. Frothy would be like an Anglo-Saxon word, so it wouldn't be so direct.
The only time you'll hear cataract used in common English or in the United States is because it's an actual affliction of the eyes. Cataracts is like when you go to LASIK and they zap your eye, they're blasting the cataract. Cataracts is like something older people get when their eyes start to go bad.
Yeah, here too.
We also have that.
We also have that.
Like we have catarata, it's the name of the disease. Catarata. Can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeff, can you see that?
Catarata.
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 And then
iconoclast too. We have the same word here in Portuguese.
Yeah.
For which one?
which one?
Iconoclast.
Ah,
We have iconoclasta. It's the same.
but you got to put a chi on the end, right? Iconoclasti.
Ta.
Oh, iconoclasta.
Yes.
Iconoclasta.
Iconoclasta.
And we
And
have
then,
catarata
so
too for waterfall, right? Right?
Yes.
Which one?
Catarata, we can call for waterfall too. Like the Niagara, yeah, like
Yeah.
Niagara Falls, we call here Cataratas do Niagara.
Interesting.
So we when we see cataract, we already think of a waterfall, so we can see the flowing hair now. And then superfluous and frivolous are also words that we have very similar words too, like frivolo and superfluo.
Ah, very cool. Interesting.
Yeah, but I've never heard about extraneous. This
Yeah,
other one
I
here.
think we have a very common one in Portuguese. Probably have it too. Let's see. Maybe estranho is like the closest to it. Let me search. Yeah, the closest translation to extraneous is estranho, which means something entirely different for us.
Is that right? What does it mean for you?
Strange.
Oh, that like Australia?
Yes. However, there must be an archaic meaning to estranho that means extraneous.
Right, because something that extraneous, I suppose, could be strange. But
Let's go into that. So
Like exquisite, it has a meaning in Spanish that's really different from
extraño. So this is not the same root.
it isn't,
Not as extraneous, because extraneous is extra.
but it comes from extraneous, which is probably the same.
Ah,
yeah, probably the same root.
ah,
It means from outside.
extraño. Ah, yeah.
The standards is from the outside. But extraneous doesn't mean like it's something that it isn't from the outside. That's very common. And
Well, I think the suggestion is that if something's extraneous, it's not related to the main. So it's outside the main, or it's strange. Huh. So it has more to do,
strange, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
they all come from
so it
some-
has more to do with the fact that it's not part of the group than it does have to do with its strangeness. I think the word, we've applied a lot more meaning to the word strange, as if, strange now is like odd, strange, unfamiliar. Whereas this is suggesting the root has more to do with that which is not part of the whole, or that which is outside the main.
Yeah. Also, maybe eccentric, like outside of the center.
Yeah.
Kind of a
Eccentric.
close explanation to it, even if it sounds a bit different.
And right, eccentric is more synonymous with strange, because someone who's eccentric could also be described as strange. And yet the root is someone that's outside of the center, or someone that's outside of the main.
What is am I mistaken? There is a word estranged, right?
To estrange is to become distant and from someone.
Yeah, which is crazy. To alienate will be
Right.
like translation of Portuguese and synonym. So to estrange is to get them off the center, to get outside of the box in a way, right?
To estrange someone is to cut off your communications with them. I'm estranged from my, crazy aunt or something like that.
Oh, interesting. There is a word I learned recently that's very interesting. When we say kidnapping in Portuguese, we say sequestrar. And then I found out about the word sequester,
You're
which
right.
is to isolate.
Yeah.
I like the way we approach the same meaning from different perspectives. Like while kidnapping means to take someone from a place to another, to sequester means to isolate them. So it's kind of the two sides of the coin. Kidnapping is getting them from here, and sequestering is putting them there.
Right.
But the consequence is the same. Like
Right. That's funny.
Nationalist and patriot. So
Nationalism and patriotism or a nationalist and a patriot,
Okay, nationalist.
or nationalism. Now you got nationalismism. Yeah, right.
So one's healthy, the other not, right?
Well, it depends on who you ask. In my opinion, well, nationalism is, is a. I'm trying to be objective. I don't want to call it irrational, but it's basically the belief that one's country is superior to all the rest.
Okay. And patriotism?
Someone, I would say it's a love and willingness to work for one's country for the purpose of improvement.
Okay.
But again, people could define these terms very differently.
So, really think about it. Mundane of the earth.
Mhm.
Earthly.
But in conventional English conversation, it would mean something that is boring.
Boring.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, that movie was so mundane.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's how people would use it here.
Wait, does the word boring come from boring? I mean, the verb to bore.
To bore, I wouldn't be surprised if it did.
Because like to bore a hole in someone's head, like
Yeah.
such a torture that it
Yeah.
carves a hole in your head.
Could be. Could be.
Let me see
I
the
wouldn't be surprised.
origin of boring. Bodian, Germanic origin is to boren.
Oh,
Verb maybe not. Yeah, there isn't much information here, but it does make sense.
it does.
It might just be just a coincidence, though. Cilantro, is this little thing?
Honorable mentions.
Yeah.
So this is nice, man. This is a page for the coffee club, and you save your notes so people always have access to the notes.
Exactly. This is a list
Very
of
cool. Yeah, I see. Very nice. And what is this app that you're using here?
It's called Notion.
Notion?
Yes. Like, and there's a whole homepage.
Oh, very nice.
Stop. Reading notes are here.
Very cool.
Honorable mentions: song with God Inside by Bob Dylan, poem Lucy et Decorum Est, Wilfred Owen, Another Old Man with Enormous Wings, Gabriel Mastroianni.
I would like to put another one that it was when we were talking about people pray for things for themselves, and I remember from a quote from the Private Jackson on Saving Private Ryan. I don't know if everyone has watched this movie, and it was his praying that every time that he would kill an enemy, he has this prayer before he takes the shot.
Can you read it for us?
Oh, okay. Be not that far from me, trouble is near. Haste thee for help me, or to help me. Blessed be the Lord my strength, which teacheth me my hands to war and my fingers to fight. My goodness and my fortress, my high tower and my deliverer, my shield and he in whom I trust, who subdueth my people under me. O my God, I trust in thee. Let me not be ashamed. Let not mine enemies triumph over me.
So nice. So
It's
it's
very relevant to our discussions, and you know, it raises the same question. Couldn't the other sniper be saying the same prayer on the other
Yeah.
side?
yeah.
And the most memorable scene of this prayer, it is him against another sniper, and it's a really beautiful scene.
Yeah.
So like both of them are praying at the same time, like the camera takes.
No, it's just he is an American soldier and he is on the ground and passing by this city, and then this city has a bell tower that has a sniper on it, a German sniper, and he is not in the advantage point. The advantage point it is for the German sniper. So it's quite a lose scenario for him, and that's why it's so meaningful, because it is he has this prayer and on a lose position, you know.
Yeah.
Gus,
Yes.
you ready for this?
Sure.
In this Netflix series, you have the Eagles, right?
Yes.
Well, one of the first episode is going to end when this incredible eagle takes flight. But little do they know, there are snipers that from the ground that take out the eagles. So what we're going to do now in one of the later episodes of the series is you're going to have snipers from both sides, and then we'll be able to have them. Here's a good word: interpolate. We'll have the two prayers going on. You know, they're each saying the prayers.
Yeah.
So there, you know, every good story has to have an enemy. You have to have the villain, right?
Yeah.
We have to have this element of danger, and the snipers, those that can actually take out the eagles from the ground. You know how nefarious and terrible they are. You know, there it is, man.
Interesting.
I really thought on a scene on a school, I guess, and people were studying about like World War II, and we have these batteries of cannons to kill people on parachutes. I don't remember the type of soldier, the name of the type of soldier. Yeah,
Parachute.
and what if the World War II was with people flying? And it was not just the end of the World War I with people inside the first airplanes or stuff like this. Like every battle was with people flying. How it was that? Because you have to construct the main world of the story too. So what is the history of this world?
Oh, you're talking about the
Yeah.
origin story,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, and how would it be like great leaders with their wings? What the wings would represent? How would it be the wings of Hitler or Caesar or
right? Well,
Nero?
Hitler probably would have like he would have clipped the wings, you know, of the Jews or whoever, you know, he was persecuting. So you have like the evil guy who can clip wing, you know, they clip wings, or they, you know, when you have a bird and you don't want your bird to escape, they kind of take the flight feathers off, they'll clip the flight feathers, and then that way that bird can't fly around and escape anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on and on about this.
Yeah.
And how about Trump's wings? How would it be?
Trump? No, he would never get off the ground. He doesn't
Yeah.
like to exercise.
I think of him like a person with small wings like chicken.
Yeah. Oh, he's a turkey.
Yeah, could it be a turkey because he's
Right.
fat?
Right.
That's fun because he's fat.
So Jeff, what we do at the end of the meeting is that we pick an emoji. It can be an eagle,
yeah.
and also we give it a name, like a hashtag we can use later to refer to this day. So do you guys have any ideas? Let's create a hashtag, and I'll post our picture on Instagram and tag you guys, and leave your comments below. Okay?
Didn't we say something earlier? Oh, we called it the Church of Coffee or something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking of that one.
Yeah.
Church of Coffee. Yes, the hashtag the Church of Coffee. People won't understand that. This is great. And
we have this song from Iron Maiden that I know of. Will be Where Eagles There. So we are trying to create scripts for series and conjuncting things of religion. So I thought it would be cool.
what do you think would be cool?
Eagles There.
Oh, yeah.
Where Eagles There?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Is that like a film or something?
No, it is just an Iron Maiden song. Could be a reference for another thing that I have saw this phrase before, but the main reference that I have is Iron Maiden.
Okay, I'll just add it to the honorable mentions. So let's take a picture. Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll be sending you the link to this page here with the notes so you can consult them. Jeff, you wouldn't. You made like a serious face when I took the picture. Let's take another one.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Come on, Jeff.
Oh, I don't
Perfect. Okay. When Jeff was here, he had the habit of destroying everyone's pictures.
Yeah, oh, that's right. I see that,
All
right.
faces.
That's right.
So let's set this infusion in Salvador.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be nice. I didn't went to Salvador yet, and it would be great to go just for an infusion encounter.
Yeah, I didn't go there yet.
There's
Yeah,
no
me
lot to
too.
see them.
So let us know about the dates as soon as you can, Jeff, so we can. Like,
I will. Certainly I will.
Why take
Sure.
it?
It's the month of July. And so Salvador will probably be the last 3 weeks
Okay.
in July.
So you guys can start seeing like ticket prices for this range.
Well, I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. I'm glad we got a chance to do this.
I'm really, really glad you came, and thanks a lot for everything.
Appreciate it. Yeah, let's stay in touch.
Yeah, sure. Bye-bye, guys. Hugs.
Bye,